These days, running through everyone's mind is the unrest in the Middle East, gas prices at the pump, biodiesel, and electric vehicles. Let's look back through history at the oil industry. The country that exports oil as follows: Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Libya, Russia, Algeria, and Iran. Algeria and Iran are the second largest behind Saudi Arabia. The unrest in Libya is affecting gas prices due to the fact that Libya exports 1.1 million barrels of crude a day, a production of 1.6 million barrels. Libya also boasts the largest reserves in Africa. Even though OPEC has been able to control prices, it only leverages is to have goals which coincide with Saudi Arabia. All Saudi Arabia has to do is threaten to increase production and oil prices crash. The U.S. petroleum industry was heavily regulated through production or prices controlled throughout most of the 20th century. When looking at the bargaining supply and demand with the oil industry is very difficult. Here's a graph that shows you how oil has continued the prices to go up. Here's another one that shows you how it starts going up, then it drops, then it goes up, and it comes back down. This is exactly why that as of February 24th, the price of a barrel of oil was at $100. Can you guess which countries consume the biggest part of oil? If you guess the United States, Japan, Britain, and Germany, you are right. Many might say, just let Saudi Arabia increase the oil production. But consequently, it takes 3 barrels of oil of Saudis to equal 1 barrel of Libya's, because Saudis has higher sulfate in it than Libya does. On the contrary, biodiesel has some similarities to crude oil, but the difference is that it is produced from using cooking oil, peanuts, and even corn. An amateur user of biodiesel is known as a greaser. This person has bought part to modify a vehicle with a diesel engine to burn it. It costs about $150. In addition, the greaser has recruited restaurants known as back alley sources to pick up the used grease for free. But the greasers take it home, put it through a series of tanks, tubes, and filters all the food products out. The only drawbacks to is the smell of French fries being burned. With all the unrest in the Middle East, people known as renders are paying restaurants for their use of oil. After it's retrieved, the buyers clean it up and then sell it to cattle lots and makers of biodiesel. What would you do if you were a restaurant that could get $15 to $50 per barrel for it instead of giving it to the greaser for free? In general, you can drive 80 miles. Subsequently, there's the electric car, which you can drive 80 miles on a single charge, and it's free. Additionally, it takes only 8 hours to do a full charge. A Britain company has unveiled an electric motorcycle as of February 6, 2011, which can be driven 100 miles. It's time for investors to take a step back, slow down, and look at the unrest logically. According to J.P. Morgan, any government in the oil-producing country will automatically need the revenue from oil production. Therefore, the turmoil does not necessarily affect the flow of oil. The main reason prices increase, according to Frey, is different than in 2008. It is the spare capacity and greater OPEC productions. Many of other oil companies are starting to pull their people out of Libya for safety. Clearly, there is a need on the global market to steer away from the total dependency of crude. Only twice has the reserves been required. once after Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and the first Gulf War in 1991. Unfortunately, unrest continues. The U.S. will have to open the reserves again. This would keep the economic in the recovery mode. Otherwise, noted by David Koch, which is spelled K-O-T-O-K, every penny increase is like a sales tax on the consumer. Not opening the reserves the consumer would pay an additionally $1.2 billion a year. One way of trying to curtail this is putting pressure on the oil and energy sectors through ETFs. The ETFs are the Dow Jones, U.S. oil and gas exploration, energy sector, and finally, the producers. Can you imagine there being 24/7 biodiesel filling stations as well as electric car charge for your vehicle? According to SunPower, the first fueling station of biodiesel will be open March 2011. In Cumberland, this station will be open 24/7, and customers will pay for the diesel by credit card. Additionally, in the coming years, SunPower plans to expand on the gold. This will allow to be grown and burn cleaner. Moreover, SunPower has expanded in its availability crops lands by nearly 25%. This is resulting in an increase of jobs for Americans. Biodiesel is the process of cold press, which takes those seeds and squeezes the oil out of them. Therefore, you don't have any emits going into the environment. It's a whole lot cleaner. Subsequently, a Chicago-based Carbon Day automotive company is running a charging station at the Inner Park. It has set up 100 charging stations at private and public sites. In the past 2 years, the prices of the station is determined by the owners and set in real time. Until more electric vehicles hit the road, it is currently being distributed for free. With the electric and hybrid versions being rolled out by auto companies, Carbon Day is looking at installing 150 to 200 stations this year. Furthermore, Chicago officials announced a contract with a California-based 350 Green to install 280 stations throughout the region. As a nation, we can do our part to support the steer in the economics from crude oil, effectively being able to depend more on biodiesel, electric, and solar energy. Consequently, the U.S. government is starting to establish parameters for biodiesel. These parameters should also follow for the electric and solar energy as well. This process encouraging to see that Americans is trying to not be dependent on crude. It's said best by Ron Ruppel. Envision the day when none of us in rural America will be held hostage to imported oil. So let's get on board.